So here I am with the 750 engine. Bit of prep work, so I am taking the exhaust off after all. Two reasons. Firstly, I've decided to make it into a street fighter, so these exhausts are going to be exposed and you're going to see them, so we can't have them rusty like this, so it needs to come off and get them cleaned up and sprayed up. Also, that'll allow me to get to the front of the engine, as it were, and get that cleaned up and sprayed as well. I have learned that these are actually, in fact you can see clearly now, because I was wondering how these came off, and they are hex. It's just because this one's so corroded, I'm going to have to maybe tap a hex into that to help it get out, so it's got a bit something to grip onto. So to get these out, I'm going to use heat as well as WD-40. So I'll heat the alloy up behind rather than the bolt. Hopefully that'll expand it a bit. Spray WD-40, and with that slight expansion, hopefully that WD-40 can work its way in. I'll do that 3 or 4 times, and then hopefully I can get these out. I'll just use small leverage on these. Maybe it's just something as small as that. Because I don't want big leverage on it in fear of snapping the bolt. So small leverage, and it'll all be about the heat and the WD-40 to do its magic rather than leverage. And hopefully I'll have no snap bolts in the head. Right, that's the plan. Dilly dilly. Happy days. The heat really worked a treat. So, heated it up, sprayed WD-40 in, heated it up again, and then just gently prised them off. The majority I got off with the same size Allen key. However, some rounded off and I had to use a bit of an oversized one. The very last one, I had to actually put a socket over the whole end of the bolt itself, rather than using the hex on the inside, because that had just totally rounded. So I braided on a 7/16 spline socket, and that went on perfect. To allow us to get that one off. See how rusted they are in there. So now we should just be able to lift this exhaust out. Like so. There we go. Happy days. Dilly dilly. Right, bit of an update on the bike then. Now we've got the exhaust off. I'll get this cleaned up, and this is going to get sprayed enamel black. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about the top end, i.e. the carbs, etc., because you don't see them. They're hidden by the fuel tank, unlike the sidecar that I've done where I had to pretty much do the whole engine. So you don't see much of this engine once it's in the frame, to be honest, with it being on an angle as well. So, enamel black that. With the frame, contemplating whether to leave it the aluminium silver or again spray this black. I think I'll go with the latter of the two. Give it a bit more of an aggressive look, so just spray it all black. I'll be taking these clip-ons off and putting standard handlebars on. I'll either put the motocross handlebars on, or could be a straight bar. I haven't decided yet. Either or, I've got to drill into this and make some clamps to put the different handlebar setup on. The forks need servicing as well, so again I've got to take these off anyway to do the seals on them, so they can get sprayed when once I get the pistons out of them. Same for the swing arm on the back. I can either spray this in situ or take it off. I'll probably take it off, which will allow us to take the rear spring out and shock absorber. Give that a bit of a clean up and a service as best I can and put that back in. Could do with replacing that, but they're really expensive, so I'm not going to bother. However, at least it's been taken out and put back on. I'll put anti-seize on, etc. So if I do want to take it out in the future, once the bike is built up, it's going to come off a lot easier. So a little bit of preventive maintenance for any future work on that. That's pretty much it for now. So that's my plan. Spray, start putting it back together, or certainly the engine in, and then I can worry about all the rest after, such as the wiring, different handlebars, what light I'm going to put on, blah blah. Right, dilly dilly. Yeah, so to carry on with the update, looking at the front, I've already mentioned about the setup of the handlebars, whether I go for the motocross type or straight bars. Yeah, So other stuff to think about, I might remove the ignition, take all that off, and like I did with the sidecar, just put a hidden toggle switch for the ignition. Yes, you do away with the steering lock, but it's not the end of the world. At the end of the day, if people want the bike, they just lift it up and take it, even if you've got chains on, unless it's actually chained to a lamppost. But then they just come and get an angle grinder. So I think for the theft purpose, it makes no odds. I think it'll actually be more of a security addition to actually hide the ignition switch rather than have a steering lock. So yes, possibly take that off. To be fair, it does get hidden anyway by a light, but I just think it will give it a cleaner look without this sort of antiquated key system. Yeah, as we've got there, and there is only one key. Yeah, I may need to extend the cables, etc., depending on the handlebar setup I go for. So brake cables, clutch cable, accelerator cable, but that'll all be determined as and when I get the handlebar setup put in place. No, my luck, I will have to replace most, if not all of that. But you never know, I might be lucky with one or two of them, or even more lucky with all of them, and they might just go straight back on, which would be great. I'll be changing the front mudguard, taking that off, putting a more smaller, streamlined one on, less intrusive. Again, it's all about making this bike as clean looking as possible. This is the kind of idea that you go for with a street fighter or indeed a bobber. This will be a mix of the two, I think. Okay, so the rear swing arm, I have seen one on eBay which is from a 600cc rather than the 750, and it basically stops here. So you do away with all of that, this extra support on here. I'm guessing if it was on a 600, then it's strong enough for a 750. I think this was just for extra additional support, possibly. I don't know, I'm no expert in that field, but I think what's good for a 600 will be good for my 750. I'm not going to be hoying this thing around, Brands Hatch or anything, so I think it'll be fine. Again, it'll just give it a cleaner look, because it'll do away with that part of this swing arm. It's relatively cheap as well. The only problem is, or potentially, if it doesn't fit into this frame, but I could do some research. I'm pretty sure the frame on these is the same for the 600 as it is for the 750, so it should literally be a bolt-on, bolt-off job. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I'll be doing away with the front master cylinder. No, not master cylinder, should I say? Just the master reservoir for the front brake. So I'll do away with that and get a CNC aluminium one, black aluminium. The other thing I need to get as well is a different coolant tank, which sat on the side here, if you remember. Again, I'm going to have to get like you can buy bottle ones, black bottle ones, which you can reposition. Because obviously I don't want the unsightly clear plastic one, because that used to be covered by the Tupperware, your plastic side panels, etc. So it was hidden. But because all this is going to be exposed now, I need to find a solution for that. But they do exist. They are out there. I've just got to search for the right one. I'll have the radiator to put back on as well, which will be exposed. It's not in the best of shape, the radiator, but again, I can buy a new one if I need to. But again, it's not the end of the world. It's a bolt-on, bolt-off job, so I could put the original one on for now, just spray it black to tidy it up, and that could be replaced in the future, so I'm not overly concerned about that at the moment. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be the front end. It'll all be black. I'll hide these wires as best I can, so it makes it really neat. Probably do away with that. New reservoir, get some sort of funky aggressive headlight, plenty out there, really cheap, so I'll be able to install one of them, no problem. Sort the handlebar setup, and that'll be pretty much the front end done, yeah, as well as the mudguard, as I mentioned. Yeah, cool. Right, enough of the updates. I need to get looking for some paint. Dilly. The other thing I failed to mention was the clocks. Yeah, so these are obviously the originals, which sat kind of, where did they go? Bolted on down there. clearly I can't put these back on because I'm not going to have a nose cone or anything. It's got all the cables there, so it is electronic for the speedometer, not a cable, which is good. So it'll just be a case of looking online, and again, like I did with the sidecar, where I installed a kind of off-the-shelf LCD digital screen. I can do the same with this, but rather than have that pretty large screen, there is other stuff out there. You can get basically a small round dial, just one. So rather than having the twin there with the revs, it'll just have the single one, which will give everything. It'll give the revs still, but probably digitally. So yeah, I'll see what's out there, but again, just something nice and small. And if I'm doing away with this ignition barrel, I can probably fit it here in place of that, which would be quite a good option, because I'll have this kind of mounting point here to allow us to do something with it as a fabrication to get that on there. So yeah, that's an option for that. So I'll get looking on eBay, see what the Chinese are throwing out at the moment in terms of a solution for my clocks and electrics. Yeah, and we can do away with this. Not that it's unsightly. It obviously, it suits the bike because it's analog and, it's a white dial and it suited the era of the bike. However, you've got to compromise. And if I'm changing this bike as much as I am, they've got to go dilly-dilly.